Hi guys, Mandy Wildman here, and today we're going to talk about how I made this blouse that I'm wearing. It wasn't really that difficult. It's all made from upcycled materials. It did take a while, however, because I kept having to come back to it, go to the shop and then come back to it and work on it in the evening. And I tend to be pretty detail oriented and picky, and I'll Yes, I'll untake things, I'll unpick things, and I'll put them back together again. But I really want to show you how to do it because I'm thinking that you could create this blouse, put your own twist on it and put your own flair on it. It's really easy to come by these materials. Would you believe that I am wearing 2 pillowcases? Really looking forward to showing you how to make it, so let's get started.
So I wanted a top to go with these pants. These are my husband, or they were my husband's old painty work shorts, and I snagged them and I transformed these into funky bloomers. And for a long time I didn't really have a top that worked with them. But lo and behold, I was at a thrift store one day and I found these 2 ruffled gray pillowcases. They were a light cottony, sort of pretending to be denim fabric with wonderfully messy ruffles around the edges, and I snatched them up quick. So first of all, I get ideas by trying things out on a dress form. I almost never have a finished design in my head in the beginning. So in this case, I took the pillowcases apart and then I pressed them and I took off the ruffles and I set them aside for later. By this time I was getting inspired, and I did some very rough sketches of how I thought it might turn out, but I kept an open mind. So I knew I wanted the basic design to be really simple. I started out with the basic rectangle of the first pillowcase for the body or bodice, which was about 28 inches by 18 inches, and then I took the 2 rectangles from the other pillowcase to make the sleeves. I sewed the rectangular sleeve pieces to the body at each side from the back to the front. Next, I shaped the underarms of the sleeves using a washable sewing marker and a top as a template that I liked the shape of. For the neck, I cut a round shape at the front and just trimmed the back of the neck not as low as the front. I tweaked it a little bit and decided I was happy with it. After that, I sewed the sides of the top all the way to the ends of the sleeves, following the curve I made, and I trimmed off the excess fabric under the arms. I thought it might be fun to leave the back still crossed over a few inches at the top of the neck, and it gave me the idea to leave the back partially open, but we'll get back to that. Let the designing begin. You have to look at what you have on hand. I almost never rush out to buy materials for a project. I prefer to ransack what I have on hand and go with that. One of the first pieces I found was an applique I'd made for my husband's pantaloons project. I'd made this little pocket for crystals, but I didn't use it. I loved how it looked at the front of the top. Next, I pinned and stitched some of the ruffles from the pillowcases to the neckline. After that, I snagged some old purple lace and I sewed it higgledy-piggledy to the bottom of the top. I found an old crocheted doily I'd dyed grey at one point, and I madly chopped it and zigzagged it onto the hem at the back. Needs more. But by this time something else was bothering me. That gap in the back. It was gonna flap in the breeze and expose my undies, so I had to come up with a solution. Solution equals design element. I found a scrap of fabric and drew out a little heart. 3 slightly bigger and bigger hearts later, I had a fun patch to applique to the middle of the back. There, modesty protected. I just had to take a little break for a moment because we were having a terrific storm here, and I thought maybe the power would go out, but no. So yeah, onward we go. So there's still something missing in terms of making it look like the pantaloons, right? So I went back to my stash and I was thrilled to find some more of the floral sheet fabric that I had used on the pantaloons. So I added that under the purple lace and the gray crochet pieces, and I ruffled it up, and now it's just taking on this sort of a cottagecore vibe, which I love. The more floof, the better. But by now I was pining to get the sleeves figured out. So I pinned and hemmed them to the length I wanted, making the hem wider than normal. And with the last tiny scraps of that sheet, I made a 2-inch ruffle to sew onto the edge of the hem. That left me with a 1/2-inch channel to thread some elastic through. And boy, I love how it turned out. And it's finished. It's apparently a tunic. When I started, I thought it was going to be a crop, but the fabric told me otherwise and I allowed it to instead of fighting it. You could turn a project like this into a dress and you wouldn't get into any trouble, I promise you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any questions, and be sure to subscribe for more videos. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had a great time. See you next time. Bye.